Hi, I'm AMIRI JUKA FARRIS, and I'm here at the gallery, and we're looking at the Juneteenth exhibition. And I was very honored to be one of the judges for the exhibition. I think the work is very strong, and there's a wide variety of different styles of work. So there's painting, sculpture, photography. So again, I think the work is very strong and engaging. And then I'm really glad that here at Silver Studios, there was an exhibit about Juneteenth. I think it's a very important holiday to celebrate the emancipation from slavery and being free. And I think the work that's in this exhibit really talks about that in different ways. So again, I'm very glad to be a judge on this exhibit, and hopefully you guys can stop by and check out the work. So I'm here looking at Victor Montague's piece, The Starting Five, which is a real engaging piece. There's lots of layers to it, and I like the landscape and the atmosphere to it. And then also it seems like it tells a story, and there's a lot going on. So we can see people picking cotton, but you can see the supreme image kind of going through in the cotton basket. So I think that kind of relates to the fashion industry and where cotton has gone from past industries and to where it is now and where we're at in terms of fashion and cotton and things like that. And then what's also interesting is you can see that people, or one of the guys has on Nike shoes and has kind of very new, kind of cool clothing. So again, it looks like it's talking about the past, present, and the future all in one piece. So I thought that piece was really engaging. All right, so we're here looking at FELICIA GREENLEE's Sign of the Time. I really like these pieces because it's a relief, which is lots of different layers and pieces kind of collaged together on the painting. And it's like wood and different textures and things like that, which is very cool. But then as you look deeper into it, you start to see different imagery and collage elements. And then I really like how we see like the American flag and kind of a female image and the African symbols, Dinka symbols and things like that. So there's a lot going on in this painting, which I find really interesting.
Hello, my name is Antonia B. Larkin. I'm a local artist and curator here in Savannah, Georgia. I am a Black American. While most of my family came in through South Carolina, I consider myself Floridian, Kentuckian, and North Carolinian. Juneteenth is important to me because it commemorates when the last of us, or when the last of our Black ancestors were freed, and celebrates the fact that they built this country. But also, the title of the exhibition is important because it's past presence. So we also must remember that slavery, while chattel slavery is done, slavery is not over. There's still the mass incarceration of Black men and women and the school to prison pipeline. And I think it's important for us to not forget that there's still work that needs to be done. So I want to take that to move in to talking about this piece. So this piece is called Flag by Tyriq Maxwell. And when I first saw this piece, it really struck me because it made me think of how complicated it is to be Black and American. And it brought back memories of talking to my grandfather, who was in the army and who served in Vietnam and Korea, and how he would tell me when he'd come back from deployment, people would still call him boy. And so after he's like fought for his country, he's still being referred to as boy. He's still not seen as a man. He's still seen as less than because he's black. And Tyriq says this in his statement about the piece, feeling like it's like how difficult it is to have love for a country that sometimes doesn't love you back, but I feel like that often doesn't love you back. And the one thing to note is the muted colors of the flag. So it's like, oh, you're American, but it's like dulled a little bit, right? It's not, you don't feel whole. So you're attached to this thing through violence, through enslavement, and you can't disassociate yourself from being American because your ancestors were brought here, your ancestors built a lot of the buildings, a lot of the structures, a lot of the infrastructure of this country, and you're tied to it, right? But you're still not seen as whole, and which is really disappointing. But I love the statement that Tyriq Maxwell is making with this piece. And as you look through the exhibition, you'll see a lot of flag motifs, a lot of patriotic images within the exhibition, as well as some other things, but the patriotism is just something that I really want to shine a light on, because a lot of times when you think of an exhibition, a black cultural exhibition, a lot of people think of a particular look of art. And when I went into jurying this exhibition, in which I was so honored to be a part of it because I love black art, I wanted to see something fresh, and the artist definitely delivered. There isn't artwork in here. There's like a wide variety of artwork in here, a wide variety of messages, a variety of artwork that is telling of the fact that while the work in the show like comes together, you can also see different experiences within the black experience, which is a beautiful thing. And also, like I said, past, presence, you see things of now and things of the past, which is beautiful, and something that we need to always think of. So always thinking of the past, and always being aware of what's happening now at the same time. So yeah, as you look through the gallery, you'll see that. You'll see other things, like some very soft portraits, and some like African inspired work. But I was really excited to see patriotic work when I was during the show, and really like fresh pieces. And I'm really excited with how this exhibition came out. And yeah, it's a really beautiful show.
Hi, I'm Billie STULTZ, Executive Director and Chief Curator at the Savannah African Art Museum, and I'm here with Lisa Jackson, our Education Community Outreach Liaison at the Savannah African Art Museum, and we were selected as jurors on this exhibit.
And we are very excited to speak about the artwork here. I am seeing it for the first time laid out, and it is absolutely wonderful. I will say that it's an incredible exhibit, and I love the title, Past and Present, Commemorating Juneteenth, because it is not just Juneteenth Day. It is not just about the abolishment of chattel slavery. There's so many ties to that. There's a before there were slaves, and then what happened after there were slaves. And there's so much that still penetrates and still is active in our lives on a daily basis. And I think the artists actually showed that in their work. In so many of the pieces here, that you can see that they took the journey, and they came from different places and how they perceived it and how they're impacted and how they're impacted today, or how their parents or their grandparents were impacted. And that's the beauty of the exhibit to me. I'm speaking from that point of view in terms of how they portrayed it. Billie is an artist herself, and so she can speak about the artwork itself and the beauty of the artwork and how it was done. So I leave that to Billie.
During this show and selecting the pieces, it was an extremely difficult process, just because there were so many wonderful pieces of art that had so many wonderful messages and powerful messages to deliver. And so with the pieces that were selected, I feel like they very much complement each other in dialogue and in experience. And with choosing these pieces and the different mediums of art that were selected, it creates this dialogue amongst the pieces and gives you a really intimate view into the artist's experience through their perspective and through their lens. And I think when looking at this exhibit, it's important to look at it with that mindset in place. And I think with this history being told, it's not something that's celebrated just one day. That's the most important thing. And we talk about that at the museum all the time. Black history is not 1 month. It is not one holiday, Juneteenth. Thank God it's now a national holiday, but it's one of many that should be coming. And Black history is not just that. It's year-round, it's 365, it's 24/7, and that needs to be brought into, in my opinion, the modern dialogue, the common conversation. And I think this is a great step in that direction through these pieces.
I would agree. So we like to talk about a couple pieces in general. These 3 pieces here just blew me away, all the layers and the texture, not just the artwork, how it's layered, but the history and how it's layered. You know, you've got the 1619, project here, and then in looking at this, then you have current vote, which people died to vote, people died to vote, then, I mean, there's all these different symbols here that are just so important for us to understand. It's all of this. This is all of what is in the celebration, all of this. Wouldn't you say, Billie?
Oh, I agree. And then playing off of that, like how this piece is constructed, that history has layers, and that's also played in with this piece. There's so many layers, even not just these pieces here by Miss GREENLEE, but throughout all the pieces in the exhibit. There's much depth, so to say, within them. So this really plays on that message of building layers through history, the messages that are conveyed.
Yes, absolutely wonderful. And I am just hoping that people take the time to come in and really look at the pieces, ask for more information, look at the video where the artists are speaking about their statements, so you hear, if you're not quite understanding what it's about, so that you understand what they're saying, because there's such a narrative that everyone would really benefit from hearing about.
So this piece by Napoleon Wilkerson, I'm a watercolor artist myself, so when I'm looking at other artists and their ways of creating, I really look at it from that artist's perspective. With his piece, it really captured me and pulled me in as far as the layers he built up and the color choices he used. Like, you've got a lot of muted earth tones here, and then you've got this sharp pop of green that really, like, compositionally snaps it in. And then also from a watercolor artist perspective, seeing the smooth textures that you can get with the gradiated watercolor. It's pretty difficult to do when you build up values. Again, speaking as an artist myself, is you can very easily overwork the paper. And that's what I tell my students all the time, is to be careful not to overwork the paper. But with his piece, not only does it deliver a powerful message, but artistically and compositionally and technically, as far as technical skills are concerned, it's pretty incredible. It's breathtaking. And when I first came in during the opening night, I was at this painting for probably 20 minutes, just admiring the technical skills it took to actually execute it.
Now, I'm not an artist, and I don't do the art analysis like you do. However, there's certain things that I appreciate about it. So I like the brick behind them. I love that. And as you said, the blades of grass there, you know. And sometimes people don't always do all the different shadings when they're doing Black folks. It's like, we're all just brown. No, there's different shadings all throughout. And they've done an excellent job. WILKERSON has done an excellent job at doing that. And then it's just like, these are the freedom fighters. We fought for our freedom. We're still fighting to some degree, but we fought for our freedom. So here you have these men fighting in the Civil War, not knowing what it's going to be like. And also, let's mention, it was a very challenging time for them to be fighting with their counterparts for their freedom. So, I mean, they didn't always get the proper uniforms, the proper shoes, and all of that, you know. So here they were, fighting for their freedom. So in so many ways, this one stood out to me. This one I remembered. I haven't seen these paintings since April, but there's some here that still stick in my head, and this is one of them. This piece here has stuck with me more than all of them. For the image, but the content, okay? And this piece is called Cadavers Who Were Still Alive. During slavery, because we were not considered people, it was chattel slavery. We were owned. We were like animals. So we were treated as such. So there were lots of experimentation, a lot of things that were done to us without giving any thought, okay? When we were hurt, lamed, sick, or whatever, we weren't cared for. And so this continued. So to look at this, and this, if those that are not familiar with this Tuskegee study, that experiment, it was an experiment where there were those men that had syphilis but were not being treated for it, but told that they were being treated for it because they wanted to see what would happen to those that did not get treated. And it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. And so people wonder why so many Black folks won't go to the doctor, okay? Won't get the shots, okay? Won't get the vaccinations. There's a history. There is a history. There is a reason why. It didn't just stop, and there's still health disparities, okay? Lots, okay, that we're not aware of. So this piece speaks to that, to me. Yes, this experiment went on from 1932 to 1972, but you know what? We're still dealing with some of those disparities. So when people ask, well, I don't know why the Black community won't come out and get these shots, this is so great for them, because we're frightened. And I know some horrible stories of experimentation, women sterilized just because, okay? Because they felt like, oh, we don't want you to have any more children. You know, things like that are still going on. So this piece just really speaks to me. And just all the different symbols, you know, with them with their no eyes. And so you see, because they were the walking dead. They were walking around sick and not knowing that they were sick, but they were walking cadavers. So, and then the other community members looking at them and people whispering, well, I don't know, they're getting that medicine, but I don't seem to be getting any better. It is such a story, this piece. So I don't know if you had anything to add, Billie.
Well, kind of playing off what you said, how I look at it is with the construction of this piece, because it is a digital rendering, it really allows for the unsettling, unspoken conversation to be had here. And so much of, you know, this history isn't talked about, isn't told. It's brushed under the rug, or we keep it kind of hidden, we keep it pushed down because we don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations. This piece here, when I first saw it, was unsettling, and for a good reason. It's doing exactly what it's meant to communicate, this unsettling emotion when you view it. Because they were used as test subjects, essentially. It's the same thing that the Nazis did in the Holocaust to Jewish people who were in the concentration camps. And while that advanced modern medicine, it's still pointing it back to its darker origins. And so with the levels of this, like Lisa said, you've got these 5 men brought to the foreground, so you're met immediately with them. So you're met immediately with this abject feeling of you're pulled in because they could be a brother, a cousin, a relative, but then you start looking at the deeper symbols within the piece, and it's this unsettling, uncomfortable feeling that you get. And then you have the family members or the community members viewing from a distance, and it's also this viewing of anticipation, this looking on of what's going to happen, is this going to continue, so on and so forth. And so I think this piece, it's powerful, it speaks volumes, and there's so much that couldn't be said more about it.